The other day I watched a new movie on Netflix. So I think it just came out. It just came out this past week. And it's called #Alive, which is a Korean, it's all Korean. If you want to watch it and you don't speak Korean, you need to put on subtitles. It's a zombie movie. So it's told from the perspective of this 20-something-year-old man, kind of how he gets through the situation or doesn't get through the situation. Basically, if you're familiar with zombie movies, it's a zombie movie. Out of 5 stars, I think that I would rate this a 3, which I feel like is... So I didn't dislike the movie. It wasn't amazing, but it was not a bad movie by any means. It's not something that I would watch again, but I don't regret having watched it. So I feel like a 3 is right in the middle. So it was, I would say it's worth giving a watch. I feel like it started off pretty solid. It held my attention for sure. And then I thought it had a good ending. So honestly, solid enough for a Netflix movie. But next I will actually go through the movie and talk about it, like kind of point by point, things I liked, things I didn't like, what my thoughts were on certain things. So if you want to watch it and you don't want me to spoil it for you, I would say stop watching now and then come back and watch this after you've seen it and let me know if you agree with my thoughts. So the movie begins pretty quickly. It shows a guy just waking up, gaming. His mom leaves him a note that she's gone to the grocery store, which, knowing ahead of time that it's a zombie movie, his mom went to the grocery store, you know, you already, well, pretty quickly there's breaking news that there's basically a zombie apocalypse. So his mom went to the store, and you automatically kind of think about your own life, like, oh my gosh, I would hate to be separated from family during a time like this. What's my mom experiencing in the grocery store? Is she safe? Is she a zombie? I feel like it was off to a pretty good start. It pretty much got right into it. And I made a note that this is the first Asian zombie movie that I had ever seen. I am not familiar with a lot of Asian movies, like Asian horror. We think about American horror movies that have been inspired by Asian horror movies, like The Grudge, The Ring might have been one. I feel like those were pretty big in the early 2000s. There was this other one that I remember people referencing a lot in the early 2000s. I can't think of what it's called though, but it's like pretty gruesome. And it's an Asian horror movie. It's like this woman who keeps a guy like in a bag and there's like needles or something. I have to look it up. If I can think about what it's called, I'll put it on the screen. But so right after he's watching the news and looking out the window and seeing all of these, his neighbors turn to zombies and eating each other, his neighbor busts in the door, freaking out because I think he said it was his brother like attacked him and he was trying to get help. And the lead guy, which they say their names, but it's like a Korean name that I'll probably butcher. So like at some point I'm going to start referring to him as Neighbor Boy. But he doesn't trust his neighbor. He's freaked out. All this stuff is happening. He doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know who's a zombie. And apparently it takes, minutes for someone to change into a zombie. So it could happen right in front of you while they at first appear normal and then they transform. So the guy's like, don't kick me out, don't kick me out. I'm scared. My brother's like sick, all this stuff. And he's like, let me use your bathroom. So he uses his bathroom and neighbor boy is looking at the news, and they're kind of like giving information about what to look for, who could be a zombie, how it works. And he gets a knife out of his drawer to protect himself in case this guy turns into a zombie. Guy comes out of the bathroom and his eyes start bleeding, and he starts like convulsing, and he's changing. So neighbor boy basically like kicks him out the door, and then his zombie neighbor guy gets taken out by a bigger zombie that's in the hallway. He starts to get texts from his mom that she's safe and for him to stay inside and stay safe. He posts on his social media that he's alive, and then he sends out a drone to kind of see all the carnage, but then his phone dies. The internet goes out, and he falls asleep on the couch to wake up to a woman screaming. He looks outside, and it's a female police officer shooting at all these zombies coming at her. He watches helplessly. He can't do anything. He is several floors up, and he's watching as she gets overtaken, basically. They take her into like this tunnel where there's a lot of other ones waiting, a lot of other zombies waiting, and then he yells out to like distract them, but like they've already been I don't know why he yells out at that particular moment, because like they've already been eating her. So like it would have been more helpful if he'd done it like in the beginning to like give her a running start. But she eventually turns into a zombie. His yelling though signals to the zombies where he is. And it's interesting because like it's huge apartments buildings. He's one apartment in an apartment building, but they were able to kind of like pinpoint where he was. So a zombie busts through his door, and he's able to basically like run towards his balcony and kind of like flip over, still holding onto the railings, and then the zombie flies off the edge, and then he's able to climb back up. So that was pretty quick thinking. I don't know if I would be as quick thinking in those circumstances. I probably would not be. I'm not good in a crisis, so I don't think that I would be. I'd be one to panic. I don't know. I don't think I would think pretty quickly on my feet in a situation like that. I probably would die pretty. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be like that, but also I am not good in a crisis. So I don't know. I might surprise myself. Maybe I would, but I don't keep a cool head when I'm stressed out. It's very hard for me to hide when I'm stressed and to actually be effective in doing anything when I'm like facing crippling fear. The movie is very like social media focused, I guess, which in 2020 would be necessary to show, I guess. I mean, look what I'm doing right now. Like, we all live on our phones, we're all online. So neighbor boy starts a video for his subscribers, but he's like easily discouraged or like just not very motivated, because he's just, the weight of the situation is making it hard for him to like stay motivated or stay focused or like stay positive at all. After 3 days, he starts breaking into the liquor, and after 15 days, he has a complete breakdown. And this is after he hears a voicemail of his family being attacked, because he's able to get some signal to hear a voicemail come through from his mom, and she said that she's at his dad's office. I think he has like a sibling or two, and that they're safe. But then later on in the voicemail, he hears the zombies break in, and he assumes that his family is dead or they're zombies. So he has a breakdown, and kind of gets angry and reckless and runs out of his apartment yelling for the zombies. Like, he wants to fight them, basically. He's so angry because he's just lost his family, or he hears that he assumes he lost his family based off what he hears. He hears them basically becoming attacked. But then when the hordes start coming towards him, he starts running, finds a hiding place, and then quietly, once he's able to not be seen, goes back into his apartment. He starts hearing some really loud noises outside, and then the camera kind of like goes to the outside and pans back, and it appears that the cities are being bombed, I guess to control the zombie population. So that kind of like furthers his depression and his feeling of hopelessness. After seeing that, he decides that he's lost his family, they're bombing the cities, there's probably nobody left, he hasn't seen anybody, that he decides he wants to end his life. So he fashions a noose and he's going to do it, but then he sees this laser coming through the window, and it like shines onto this like art on the wall with words, and it says like no, and like basically tells him not to do it. And so he breaks free and notices that there's a woman around his age directly across from him that's been watching him with binoculars. And as soon as he sees that there's another survivor, he gets hope again. They talk via walkie-talkie and kind of send food to each other back and forth. They talk like as they're going about their day to kind of feel less alone and to get a little bit of hope again that maybe there are other survivors and they will get through the situation. It's funny because at one point he sends over some Nutella to her. As I'm watching this movie, I am literally spoon in hand eating from a jar of Nutella. And I just thought that was hilarious because Nutella is, if you've never had it, Nutella is amazing. I love that stuff. I actually always keep it on hand now. And I eat it straight from the jar, and it is just delicious. So as they're talking, and he's asking her if she liked the Nutella, he talks about, you know, how thankful he is that she saved him and how strong she is. And then you see her talking to him in her apartment, and you see that there's a broken noose in her apartment. So she actually also had a failed attempt to end her life. But she doesn't want to talk about it, and she doesn't want him to make her seem like she's a hero, that she's so strong, because she actually was really weak too. So she asks him to change the subject. So they decide that they want to try to survive together in the same space. To do that, one of them needs to leave the safety of their apartment. So the girl, the woman, basically zip lines down to where the zombies are and starts making her way through the horde, you know, taking them out one by one as they come up to her. And he sees that she's about to be overtaken. And then at some point he does come down to help her, and they get into another apartment building that is neither of their apartment building, and they make their way through like the glass door of the entrance, and the zombies are like banging on it and it's cracking and it's gonna break, and they go up in the elevator. I mean, I assume that there's gotta be stairs too, but like, I don't know. I guess you're so used to going up in an elevator that you, even in a crisis, would just automatically do like from muscle memory, like you just go up in the elevator. But when I was watching it, I thought to myself, like, during a zombie apocalypse, if you get stuck in an elevator, there's no one to call, there's no one to help you. So I feel like I would avoid. It's like they tell you, in case of a fire, don't take the elevator. Like, I feel like I would avoid the elevator. And I would also assume that they weren't working too, because like, you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, but it works. And they close the elevator door just before the glass doors break. They make it up to some apartments, and they see one zombie making its way towards them, and then a bunch more behind him. So she's banging on doors, and he's trying to like he's trying to pull something off a wall to like keep them away, like create a barrier. And a door opens and the woman gets pulled in, and then suddenly there's like a gas canister that's thrown towards the zombies, and then neighbor boy is able to get away, and they end up in this apartment with this man, this older man, and they're like kind of skeptical, or they're kind of suspicious of him, because they're like, how did you survive? Like, you know, they're sitting at the table, and he's offering them water, but especially neighbor girl is hesitant to take anything because she's like, I don't know this guy, like what's his motive to help us? And then the older man takes a drink of his water, and then neighbor boy is like, see, it's fine, we need to drink our water. So they drink their water and he gives them some canned food to eat. So they're talking and he's like, did you hear the radio broadcast that they have rescue teams. They're looking for survivors. It's only a matter of time before we get rescued. And they further let their guard down and they're eating and they're talking and she's looking around and she sees baby bottles. She's like, do you have kids? And he's like, no, but 2 kids came by today. And then they start getting groggy and they realize that they've been drugged. So neighbor boy is drugged at the table. Neighbor girl gets taken to a bedroom. And what's weird is, like, if they've been drugged, like, they don't stay knocked out for long. Like, they come to pretty quickly. And she notices that there's a zombie woman, like, on this leash, basically. And there's blood in it. It's a nursery, basically. And there's blood all around it. And you see the woman, and then, like, before, where there's baby bottles in the picture, there was a baby. So you realize that zombie woman is the man's wife. This is their apartment. There's no baby. I'm assuming she turned into a zombie, ate the baby, because there's no zombie baby, which is really fucking sad, because I have a 1-year-old and shit like that, like, really bothers me. Even though, like, it's a zombie movie, it's completely not real. But he's basically, like, feeding her to his wife, because even though his wife's a zombie, he still loves her. And, like, you can imagine, you know, if your loved one turned into a zombie, like, how complicated that would feel. You might not want to just kill them. You might think, okay, well, I don't know what this is, but maybe they can be cured and I need to feed her in the meantime. But then neighbor boy comes to and interrupts the whole thing. And then neighbor girl and the zombie fight, and then you don't hear anything. And then the older man goes to open the door to see what's up. And neighbor girl has basically, like, pushed his zombie wife onto him, and zombie wife starts eating the older man. And, like, neighbor girl and neighbor boy were really upset before because he was trying to feed her to a zombie wife. But then they just felt sad because he was, like, telling her, like, this is a zombie movie and it's completely fantastical, but, like, I've been married for almost 13 years and I've been with my husband, like, for a year longer than that, and we have a 1-year-old. And it's really sad because, like, he loved her even though she was still a zombie, and he was like, it's okay, as he's, like, being eaten. And then neighbor girl and neighbor boy are, like, they just felt really sad because even though it's messed up what they were trying to do, what he was trying to do to them, he did it out of love for his wife and he didn't want to do it. But these are, like, extenuating circumstances, and who knows how you would act, or, like, what you would do in those circumstances. So she basically, like, out of mercy, shoots them both. But as they're still in the apartment, they see, well, okay, I take that back, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so when she shot a zombie wife and her husband, the zombies heard that. They kind of came towards them. But then, so as that's happening, neighbor girl and neighbor boy start losing hope again. And she gives neighbor boy the gun and tells him, like, we're together, like, let's just end this. Like, it's hopeless. They're coming for us. It's over. And they assume, I'm sure, you know, because the older man drugged them, that he was kind of lulling them into a false sense of security and lying about the rescue efforts. So they just really feel like it's over. He doesn't want to do it, and so he stalls. And then I think just as he's getting ready to do it, they hear helicopters. And they see that there are helicopters over the city. And they decide, we've got to get to the roof. So they make their way through all these zombies up to the roof. But then they don't see the helicopters anymore. But the zombies are still coming, and they bust out. And they still have the gun, and they're trying to shoot the zombies. Of course, they only have so many bullets. There's so many zombies. Like, they're looking over the edge. Do we jump? Do we get eaten? Like, what would you do? It's like, okay, do you jump and jump to your death? Or do you get eaten and turn into a zombie. Like, there's no good choice. I guess I would jump. I mean, I don't want to do any of those things, but what would you do? Like, but right at the last moment, a helicopter comes up with guns, starts shooting at all the zombies, and they help them onto the helicopter. And then you start hearing like a news report by saying that I think it was like 50,000 people have been affected by this, and it was worse in cities like where they were because of how densely packed all the apartments were. And when people started posting on their social medias that they were still alive, that's how a lot of these rescue teams were able to find people, which was based off of like mobile data and their social media. So that's pretty much the end. And like I said, I think overall it was a pretty decent movie. I would recommend you watch it. The acting wasn't bad. I think it was a solid zombie movie, but it's a zombie movie, and it's not like the best movie in the world, but it's like middle of the road. And I would recommend, like, you know, when I saw the trailer for it, I thought, oh, this might be good. So just something to fill your time. Not amazing, not bad by any means, average. So it's so funny, Danny and I have this like running joke about how like neither one of us would ever survive the zombie apocalypse. You know, me, because I'm like, can barely fend for myself, and I'm just like weak and slow. Not the, I don't know, like whatever I might do, he'll joke and be like, oh, you know, you can't do that in the zombie apocalypse. You wouldn't survive in the zombie apocalypse, blah, blah, blah. And he has low blood pressure, so like if he gets cut at all, he's like, neither one of us would survive zombie apocalypse. But let me know, would you survive the zombie apocalypse? How would you survive? If you've seen this movie, do you agree with my rating? Will you watch this movie? And if you do, come back and let me know what you think about it. If you have any Netflix or other streaming service recommendations, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. If you like this one, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. I am on a roll with uploading videos, so if this one wasn't your favorite, maybe you'll like another video. So stick around and see if you like any other video that I post. So see you next time.